Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be discussing The Walking Dead Season 9 trailer that dropped a couple of days ago. Now before I start discussing specific details about the trailer itself, I want to say that if you've come here because you want to watch a video featuring some hyperactive YouTuber having an orgasm over every minute detail featured in the trailer, you've come to the wrong place. Personally, I feel it's important to take trailers for what they are, that being a small highlight reel which serves the purpose of trying to sell a certain product. The general rule is that trailers are usually good even if what they are advertising is a bit shit. See The Walking Dead Season 8 trailer as a perfect example. So with that in mind, I'm not going to be jumping up and down proclaiming Season 9 is going to be the best season of The Walking Dead ever, because quite frankly there's no way of being able to tell that from 5 minutes of video. However, I will be talking about some of the things in particular that I like as well as what I dislike without trying to get too carried away. So the opening scene features Rick talking to Negan in his prison cell. As a reader of the comics, this is something that I picked up on immediately, even though Negan's face isn't actually shown until later on in the trailer. Even though I did enjoy seeing these two converse with one another, it did actually make me feel kind of sad, because I know we won't get to see an awful lot of this due to Andrew Lincoln leaving the show. Anyway, next up is a shot of Maggie holding Herschel Jr. Based on the source material, I'm presuming that's the baby's name, and I'm also presuming that the baby is a boy, but honestly, who knows? Of course, there's the chance that on the show Maggie may have had a daughter instead. Or has anyone thought of the possibility that the baby might not even be hers? What if this is all actually just a ploy by Angela Kang? Maybe the baby is a result of Eugene and Rosita getting it on and Maggie is just babysitting. Why not? It's possible. Look, okay, I'm just chatting shit now. There's no way I actually believe that this baby isn't Maggie's. I'm just messing with you. Of course it's her kid. Though funnily enough, this reveal proves that I was correct when I said the time jump would be roughly the same length of time as in the comics. You know, everyone was saying to me, Josh, no, the show will jump forward 4 or 5 years. Henry will be the main character. You've got it wrong, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? I'm right. Again. Modest as always. I'm only joking, let's move on. Moving on, I noticed there's a scene of Rick chatting to some dude at the Sanctuary and he offers to help him. And it appears to me that the people of Sanctuary look up to Rick like he's some kind of saviour. Get it? As the trailer goes on, it becomes obvious that Maggie and Daryl disagree with Rick's methods for a number of reasons. I think Maggie is still pissed with Rick because he chose to spare Negan, which you know does make sense. However, I hate to be that guy who keeps saying that the comics did it better, but well, that's exactly what I'm going to say, because when Glenn died on paper, if I remember correctly, Maggie went absolutely crazy on Rick. She blamed him for not stepping in to help Glenn, and then decided to leave the hilltop because she didn't want anything to do with him anymore. Since that moment there was always a huge sense of tension between the pair of them. Contrast this to the TV show in which Maggie doesn't lash out at Rick when Glenn dies, and instead she seems to actually thank him when he offers to help move Glenn's body. Her main reason for going to Hilltop in the show is to get treatment for her baby, not because she can't stand Rick. There wasn't that same sense of blame that there was in the comics, and her blaming Rick only really came around during the last episode of Season 8. So for me, it's hard to get behind the notion that Maggie hates Rick, when we haven't really seen this develop properly. I will say though that I do enjoy their disagreements in the comics after the time skip takes place, so I am still looking forward to seeing this play out. As long as it's not as dumb as the main characters on Fear fighting one another for no real bloody reason. As for Daryl though, I don't really know why he's still pissed with Rick. When I saw him clobber that guy with a frying pan, the exact notes I wrote down were Daryl being a wanker again. And that's because there's only so many times I can see him lash out and mess up before I stop caring. Granted, I don't know why he attacked the guy, but knowing Daryl, it was probably something that was blown out of proportion. Maybe the dude ate one of his squirrels or something, I don't know. I know that everyone seems to love him because he's a bad boy, but after a while I can't help but feel that no, he's not a bad boy, he's just an idiot. Everyone knows I'm not his biggest fan after the way he acted last year, and this trailer for me didn't do anything to make him seem more likeable. His weird newfound hatred of Rick, which seems to make even less sense than Maggie, has just made me care about him even less. Maybe I'm being too harsh and hopefully he will have a good season, but based on the trailer he just seems to be the same arsehole which I didn't like in Season 8, which isn't good seeing as he's going to be the main character. Oh dear. At least Michonne seems to have been given a bigger role this time around. I mean, she probably had more lines during those 5 minutes than she did during the entirety of last season. Okay, that is a bit of an exaggeration, but over the last 2 years she's found herself being reduced from badass female warrior that we all came to know and love to Rick's housewife, and truth be told she just hasn't been the same. Again, it is hard to make accurate predictions based on a trailer, but it does look like she will feature more in this upcoming season, which can only be a good thing. And with Judith now at the age that she can run run around, it's not like she has to be there for her constantly. She and Rick can just leave Judith with someone else whilst they go about on their merry little adventures. Finally, whilst I'm on the topic of Michonne, there's a shot of her holding up a bloodied Lucille. I'm assuming this means that Negan has escaped, though why he would leave Lucille lying around I'm not entirely sure. Michonne did seem to be pretty horrified by the whole thing though, so maybe what she found was another Lucille victim. It might sound crazy, but what if Negan actually ends up whacking Rick, with Michonne finding his corpse with the bat by his side? Again, I don't know why he would leave his bat there, and it does mean cutting out his redemption arc which he goes through in the comics, but hey, the TV show is veering away of course from the source material with Maggie and Rick leaving anyway, so it is possible. Or what if someone had in fact just killed Negan with Lucille, maybe even Michonne? Honestly, I could probably speculate about what this scene means all day, and I just hope it turns out to be something genuinely shocking and surprising. Speaking of surprising, Gabe's back with a new freaky look, which I think is pretty damn cool. Father G became one of my favourite characters by the end of last season, and I really think he's one of the standouts of season 8. So I'm happy that he's fit and healthy, minus the missing eyeball obviously, and I hope he's given a significant role again this season. One of the quieter moments in the trailer brought up the age-old question that fans have been dying to know for years: will Carol and Daryl finally get it on? There was a tiny snippet of the two cuddling up to one another which will have all fanfiction writers going absolutely crazy. To be fair though, the Daryl and Carol advocates aren't exactly without reason. At the end of season 2, beginning of season 3, it did seem like the seeds were being sown for a potential romantic relationship, but as time went on, the pair of them saw each other less and less as they both ended up going down different story paths. Then when they did reconnect, that romantic spark just didn't seem there anymore, if indeed it ever was in the first place. Fans have been crying out for these two to get together for ages, and you know what, I'd be all for it. It would be nice to finally see Daryl show a romantic interest in someone, and Carol, well apart from the week or two that she had with Tobin, hasn't really been with anyone since her dickhead husband Ed got killed. I believe Miss Kang will do her best to try and please fans as much as she can this season, especially with two main cast members leaving, so I would say that there is a good chance that we could finally see these two get together. The last thing I want to talk about is when Rosita and the new dude are hiding from the walkers who actually turn out to be the Whisperers. One of the Whisperers, who is blending in with the passing walkers, says the line "where are they" at around the 5-minute 20 mark. I actually missed this line of dialogue first time around because it was so quietly spoken, which actually makes sense considering the group's name, but when I did hear it, I gotta say it was one of the best moments of the trailer for me. Seeing the guy's reaction who had obviously heard it was great because he was absolutely terrified. I know the eventual Whisper War arc wasn't all that great in the comics, but their introduction was brilliant, and I love the concept of the Whisperers as a group, so I'm delighted they are going to be adapted to TV. However, I do doubt that we'll see them until the second half of the season at the earliest. Obviously, there's tons of other moments from the trailer which I haven't gone over, but my intention wasn't to break down everything in this video. If I've missed something out, then it's probably because I don't really care about it that much, or I just don't really have that much to say about it. I mean, take the appearance of the helicopter for example. Although I read the Walking Dead comics, I don't read them after each issue is published. Instead, I wait for the individual volumes to be released, which means I'm always at least 6 months behind what is actually happening. And because of this, I don't really know an awful lot about the helicopter situation. I have seen some explanations online about the organisation that owns it, with said organisation seemingly in the comics at the moment, but personally, I don't really have anything myself to add to this discussion. So sorry if you wanted me to try and explain that, amongst other things I may have missed out. And with that, we come to the end of the video. All in all, I have to say I did enjoy the trailer, much more so than I thought I would. Obviously, that doesn't mean the season as a whole is going to be fantastic, but the 5 or so minutes that I watched were enjoyable, and hopefully this season can be an improvement on the last couple of years despite the challenges the writers have faced. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and please let me know your comments below. I will be doing another video regarding this trailer later in the week, specifically asking the question, where is Dwight, so keep an eye out for that one. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.